There's one concept that has stayed in my head ever since I did my short-lived Watchful Night podcast, and that's the concept of the gateway film. My film professor and I discussed this idea about the movies you can watch to get more interested in cinema more broadly. Movies that are accessible and will hook you, but are not so alienating that will push you away from watching quote-unquote artsy movies or premiere films. So I thought, why not compile a list of films so you guys can take a look and hopefully be inspired to check out things that are maybe a bit different than you're used to. I tried to make this more of a modern list so they seem a little more appealing, so without further ado, here we go. This is kind of a boring one to start out with, but I think its popularity as a cult classic makes this an easy recommendation for everyone. Its lines are constantly quoted, its cast legendary, and its impact is actually insane, as there was Hollywood independent filmmaking pre this movie and post this movie. It's also incredibly hilarious. But I think what makes this a good gateway movie is that it introduces you to 1, the idea of a dark, twisted comedy, and 2, it operates on a slightly different logic than most movies. That's why this movie gets people excited to venture into newer, weirder stuff, because it shows how entertaining and humorous movies like this can be that are getting at ideas in a roundabout way instead of a clean narrative. It also introduces you to Quentin Tarantino. Not the best person, but he gets you excited about how he makes movies, and more importantly, the movies he's referencing. Look, I'm as surprised as you are that I have a Yorgos Lanthimos movie here, but it actually turns out that a lot of people responded so well to Poor Things that I had to include it on this list. So yes, this may turn up the weird meter far higher than Pulp Fiction does, but it's still very approachable in terms of its ideas and story world. Strange, eccentric, sure, but still very legible. And for obvious reasons, this is a great movie to get exposed to new types of storytelling, primarily because of its visual style. It uses fisheye lenses, expressive production design, and also a really physical approach to performance that makes you well prepared for movies you watch next that are more avant-garde. So Robert Eggers' work is something that could be covered in this video completely. He stars well-known actors in weird horror movies that are creepy, horny, strangely emotional, and visually bold. But The Lighthouse is one that balances all of that because it introduces you to new aspect ratios, black and white cinematography, old-timey English, but does all of it with really modern sensibilities. I know a lot of people instantly shut off when they see a movie in black and white or hear English in some other form, and this movie does a great job of placing that into a psychological horror premise that it makes everything make more sense. In other words, it has all of those elements but makes them more appealing. Also, it gets you thinking about the horror genre in an entirely new light. I had to pick a Charlie Kaufman movie here as well, and as tempting as Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is, I think this movie does a better job of plunging you deeper into a different psyche. There's just so many random elements here that you have to piece together on your own. The 7.5 floor, the chimpanzee, John Malkovich himself, puppetry, weird workplace dynamics, sexuality, this movie has it all. While the previous 2 films I've mentioned have been different in style, this one is different in content in a crazy way. And yet, it's still a very approachable film because it has the classic 3-act structure we are so used to, and when the genres do shift every now and then, they are very clear, which makes the type of film that holds your hand throughout its craziness. There had to be an entry of slow cinema, and therefore, it had to be Kelly Reichardt. What you'll realize when you get into other types of movies is that the pace can be all over the place, or more often than not, be extremely deliberate, and what we would deem conventionally slow. I think Certain Women does a great job, with actors we are all very familiar with, by showing how well a slower pace and style can make the world of impact on a story. It's a great film that slows you down completely, and once you get into it and lost in it, you'll realize so many movies move way faster than they need to. It's a good way to plunge yourself in the deep end with this kind of film, but it also does a great job of always making sure you stay afloat because it's telling 3 different stories, so you're definitely rewarded for your attention every 30 minutes or so. Look, I'm not even the biggest fan of this movie, but it's hard to deny the impact this movie has on so many people. And it's actually a really, really good film to get used to how other countries make movies. Some of the rules about nudity and violence, of what you can actually show on screen, to even just narrative rules, are broken constantly in cinema from other countries. The reason a lot of people respond to Amelie so much is that it plays out like a romantic comedy more than anything else, and it has this giddy sense of optimism about life that makes it much easier to fall into a lot of its stylistic choices. It also gets you used to reading subtitles, which you'll quickly realize isn't that bad, and have you watch something from France, a country notorious for breaking all rules of cinematic storytelling. And I think that'll do it with this one. This is by no means an exhaustive list, really just had these movies in my head and was thinking about this idea, so thought might as well put it in a video. Go watch these movies and let me know if they made you more ready or interested to explore other films, and let me know of any other movies you have in mind in the comments. I will see you all in the next one.